Welcome to the Helix Hour, brought to you in part by Design39 Media. Visit design39media.com for all your website, photography, and video production needs. Microphones for the Helix Hour are provided by Rode Microphones. Now, let's talk some Helix. Hey everyone, welcome to the debut episode of the Helix Hour. I'm very excited to launch this new segment on EVH and Gear TV, and I could not have asked for a better guest. I certainly couldn't have found a better guest to kick this off than Mr. Paul Hindmarsh. Paul, how are you?
Oh, thank you. I'm very good. Very good. It's a little bit cold here in the north of England, but yeah, I'm good. It's good. I'm very excited to be here.
I saw some people, my better half here, Sandra Lee, was showing me some videos today over in Britain and things like that when snow falls. And is it a rare occasion for snow over there?
No, we get snow, but we just don't get a lot of it.
Okay.
So we don't get a lot of sun. We kind of sit in the middle. We get enough rain or maybe a bit too much rain, and we get, and so if we get, I mean, for you guys, I mean, you get like, I do lessons with a guy who's in Canada, and whenever I complain about snow to him, he just laughs.
That's right.
But we get like 4 inches of snow, and like everything just grinds to a halt. Everything stops, transport stops, everybody starts panic buying food and things. So we've had that over the last couple of weeks. And it's back a little bit this weekend. So God knows what will happen.
See, we're getting the opposite. We're getting some beautiful weather here today. The boy went outside today without even a jacket, which is very, very nice. Sunshine is beautiful. So after the show today, I'm going to enjoy some of the sunshine because it's very rare this time of year for us. But I was watching a funny video that the Better Half showed me, and it was a famous comedian. I don't know his name, a young comedian from over your way, and it was talking about the snowfall. And it's like, okay, it's 8 seconds after the snowfall starts coming, they cancel transportation. I'm sorry, the buses are canceled and all this.
Absolutely. That's exactly what happens here.
That's hilarious.
It's great.
Well, listen, I'm going to, in a brief second, we're going to get a little bit of a history on yourself, and then we're going to talk a lot of Line 6, obviously, today. And that will kind of introduce some things for the Brown Sound, for the Van Halen fans that are normally watching this show as well, too. But I want to share 2 stories, and they're very, very brief. The first story is on why I started this, secondary content program on the YouTube channel. And I'm gonna actually read it because I didn't actually memorize the story here. But why did I start the Helix Hour? And a testimonial below I'll share is from a friend that contacted me this morning, and he's also a Patreon supporter and a good friend as well too. But why I started it after receiving the Helix, I received the Helix rack first. It was just a matter of mere days after I got the unit. I started to play guitar more than I ever had because the show was kind of consuming me as a talk show host, and I forgot about being a guitar player. So I started playing guitar more. I started enjoying it. It made me start writing more than I ever did before. And I think that the idea of it warranted more than just a thank you to the Line 6 team. A thank you wouldn't cut it. So a show has now been dedicated around the inspiration that I've received from the Helix. And I want to jump into a story which is much better than my story. This is from Carlo Santin, a good Canadian friend here, and like I said, a Patreon supporter here on the channel. And I'll try to paraphrase what he says. He says, and he shared this with me this morning. I said, I have to have your permission. I want to read this. He says, I'll share this with you. I've never, ever tried writing a song before. I've always just learned licks and songs by players I liked. Since getting the Line 6 stuff, and he started with the HX effects, and then he found a used Helix at a store, so he traded that back in and went to the Helix. Since getting the Line 6 stuff, I've started to do my own thing, and I don't even know why. So it turns out I'm actually writing a song. I have no idea what I'm doing, and it's incredibly hard to do. I've spent a long time today coming up with this stuff and recording it. I've got the intro and the verse, I think. I have an idea for a chorus, but it needs a lot of work. This is very rough, he says, and I'm going to describe what he sent me. It's got some beautiful, beautiful synth-type swells on it, and then he's got some prog rock riffs, and I was very, very impressed. So that alone, the fact that a device, a product, has made you write your first song and love guitar that much more, I mean, what better way to kick off a program than a testimonial like that?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's all about making music, and for me, it's all about just being creative and Line 6 is great for being able to let you do that. It's absolutely, and that's a great story.
It is. I was really happy to hear that. I was very happy to hear that and share that with the community as well. So enough about that. Let's start off the program, and this is gonna be tough for me because I'm used to running a 90-minute talk show, and we're trimming this down to 60. So bear with us, everybody. I'm enjoying it with left to a hot tea.
I can always come back. It's fine.
Oh, you will, guaranteed. But I'm not going to accept a no from you. But let's talk a little about what, I mean, everyone knows you and respects you as a very accomplished musician. Tell us a little bit when you got into guitar and maybe any other instruments that you might, profess in.
Yeah, so God, it seems like such a long time ago now. I mean, I started playing in the '80s. So really, it goes way back to, I used to be really into art, and then I discovered music which is actually through the band Frankie Goes to Hollywood. And I saw those guys playing on top of the pops, and it was like, wow, I want to do that. So I was really into that, and that made us want to play bass. So bass was the first thing that I got into, and I still love playing bass. It's a great instrument for just picking up and putting things down. And then it kind of moved on to somebody introduced us to Kiss. Then obviously Van Halen, massive Van Halen fan. That's been there all through my life, like, absolutely. And then it kind of moved into, I've just kind of been in love with music ever since, So really, yeah, started off on bass, and then probably went the way like a lot of would do. I got a job. I believe that you worked in the music store as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
So yeah, I worked in the music store. Ended up, I think I started in the music store as work experience, and I left as the manager of one of the biggest stores in that chain. And then at the end of that, line 6 were, hey, do you fancy coming to play some guitar? It's like, yeah, I can do that. That sounds good. And it's been maybe 10 years now. Yeah, it'll be 10 years this year. Yeah, so it's been quite a long time. They're a great company to work for. They've been fantastic with me. They really have all the way through that.
10 years with line 6.
Yeah. But from a music store perspective, I was there when the very first the AX212 came out.
Okay.
Like I remember that arriving in the store, and maybe to just bring it back to what you were saying just there, I remember desperately trying to record guitar sounds and actually get a decent guitar sound back in the 90s. And I remember going out on my lunch break and coming back, and this new box was in the window that nobody in the store really knew anything about, and it was the Red Pod. And I'd read about it, and I was like, God, I've just got to take that home. I need to know if that's the answer to being able to get good guitar sound at home. And it was for a long time, So it was that was a real life changer, and a game changer, and possibly a life changer as well for me. Just suddenly being able to get Marshall type sounds and Fender type sounds, and be able to do it with headphones in the house, and that obviously means you can play more. It means you can stay up later playing with headphones on. So, I kind of take it back what you're saying. That kind of made me play more as well. So with line 6, yeah, it's like way back to the very, very start of being part of my life, and like sort of 10 years now, mostly self-employed and I think I started sort of full time with line 6 about, God, time travels so fast. I think it was about a year and a half ago as a full time line 6 employee. But previous to that, I was a contractor, and when they wanted something and I could do it, they called me up.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you if you had like a permanent position with them, because I wasn't sure how that works. And with the YouTube community, it's very easy just to contract people anywhere in the world. Produce a video, send it off to them. But that's very nice to actually know that. So you're officially part of the team as opposed to a hired gun, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's been about a year and a half. And like all this technology, being able to record music at home and all these things, and obviously, everybody's getting more and more into video now. So over the last few years, I got more and more into video, and now I must have managed to get it to a level where line 6 will actually employ us to make videos on a permanent, on a full-time basis for them. So yeah, it's amazing what technology can bring to your life, like just it really is, and being able to be, I mean, without digital and without like, I'd still be using the old 4-track, and I'd still be, limited, massively limited in every way of what I could achieve, and God, what would I be recording videos with, like if, technology's, it's great, it's great.
I do love that for sure. And one of the things I really like about your videos, there's a lot of line 6 tutorials out there from the Helix, the whole line of family, and there's a lot of great videos out there. But one of the things I think that sets yours apart than some of the others is the fact that you go above and beyond, and you'll show kind of the what the pedal would be you'd be using in the real world with overlays, what the amplifier would be, and they'll show the routing of it. I mean, that must take you a lot of extra time. What do you spend on an average video to produce? Like, I'm going to 12, 15 hours, something like that, maybe more?
Oh, no, it takes me. The whole process for doing videos for line 6 is a very long it's a very long process. There's a lot of to and fro and a lot of emails back and forwards of exactly, because everything, everything has to tie in with the marketing, and I work for the marketing department, so everything has to tie in with that. I've got to make sure that my message is very, very clear. We have to make sure it's, we have to make sure it's, the video is like quite a short length video as well. So no, it takes a long time, and I spend a lot of time, because I still feel like I'm learning. I mean, I'm still learning how to play guitar. I'm still learning how to produce music, and I'm still very much learning how to do video. So yeah, I wouldn't even like to put a figure on it.
No, it's
really,
it varies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and absolutely cutting all those little icons out is
yes, that's crazy. Yeah. That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, but they look great. I mean, I don't create those icons, but they look great. So it's great. It's great to have something in the corner of the screen so people aren't looking at me.
The thing is, too, sometimes you never know who's coming to your channel. It could be the people that are the real analytical people that want to watch and read everything. Sometimes there might be people that might even actually mute it, and they're looking for visual cues. Maybe they're at work and they don't want to get in trouble for listening to stuff at work. You actually cater to everybody there. You've got visual cues. You've got everything in the descriptions down below. Great quality video, tremendous audio. So I think they've done wonders by bringing you onto the team for that, for sure. It's very good content.
Thank you. That means a lot.
I love it. So overall, how would you say the Helix, the line, and I mean, I know you have everything. You have the Helix rack, the floor, the LT. And do you have the HX effects? I forgot to ask you that.
Yes.
I assumed you would, yeah. So
down there.
How has it changed your life overall? If you in a real short, kind of synopsis, how has the Helix line of products changed your life as a musician?
So it finally means that you can actually get guitar sounds that sound like real amplifiers. So the pod was great. But the technology it's old now, it's still on lots and lots of records. But if you really want to listen to a player who's got great tone and great feeling and a great sound, maybe the pod's not really going to be the most expressive thing for bringing out those the dynamics in the way that you play. So one of the things I loved about Helix was the way that those models really, you can turn the volume control down. I'm like a big fan of like Jeff Beck and players who play with a lot of louds and softs. And like the older modeling technology was never so great at doing that kind of thing, although some people, get some great sounds out of them. So for me, it was actually being able to clean it up with the volume control. It was being able to dig in. And it was also Helix, for the first time for me, I'd always thought, you use real amps live and you use pod at home, because you can, for all the reasons that we just discussed before. Helix actually flipped that all around, where I started to think, well, if you've got nice amps, you maybe use them at home, use them in the studio, but it's actually so much easier and so much easier to get a better and a nicer sound live than with a Helix than it actually is with real amps. So it actually turned my thinking completely around from thinking, use modelers at home and amps live to actually being the other way around. Mm-hmm. And now there's not even any need to use amps. I mean, for some of the recent video things I did, I mean, I've got some nice amps. I don't know if you can see. I have a Marshall there, and I have a Soldano sitting behind us there as well. Beautiful. Again, it's another Van Halen inspired purchase. Soldano, and I've had that for 1994. I think that's Soldano. And I recently, for some videos, I plugged them in, and I did a bunch of miking things, and I did a bunch of different things. I had a reactive load box.
Nice.
That I tried out for a bit, and it was like, yeah, this sounds great. This sounds fantastic. And I actually then switched over to Helix, and it's like, you know what? Like, actually, I'm not good enough to mic up one of those amps or to get one of the sounds out there that I can with the Helix. It's because it takes a lot of to get a good mic'd up sound out of an amp. That's not easy to do. You don't just throw a mic in front of an amp, and every little movement that you make makes a big difference to the sound. So having something like this, and it's just the speed of being able to do things. I'm not interested in running around with cables and
no.
I just want to be able to plug in, and I want to be able to play. And I don't even just want to sit and be able to play guitar. I also want to be able to plug in and record as well. That's my real love, and that's kind of what I try to bring to the Line 6 videos is that, I play drums, I play bass, and I love creating tracks. So that's where I get my real kind of satisfaction from. It's from actually creating a sort of a rhythm section type thing and being able to put something like that, Helix and guitar parts over the top of it, So yeah, it's I can make at home something that hopefully sounds like it's come out of a nice studio. And, I don't know. I think I watched I watched it was the Foo Fighters documentary where it was talking about, you know, how sad it is that studios are closing down, and it is, you know, that's all a sad thing, but you know, like, you know, I can't afford to go to one of those big fancy studios in LA with a band for a couple of months, you know. So it's great that Dave Grohl can do that,
Of
but you
course.
know, it would be such a shame if, you know, like the average, you know, the average guy or girl, you know, couldn't record really high quality things at home, you know. So, and I think Line 6 are fantastic at that. You know, you can get something, all your bass amps, all your guitar sounds, all your effects out of one of these, and integrate it with a nice, you know, your little pedal purchases that you might, you know.
That's right.
You know, maybe you have a bad week and you go to your music store and you buy yourself you know, a new pedal. You know, it integrates with that as well. So.
It does, certainly. That's a fantastic share. And that's the thing, most of us, 90% of us out there are not recording engineers. And, you know, as much as you might think it's easy to stick a mic, you know, a condenser or, you know, a dynamic mic, whatever, ribbon mic on your amplifier back there and get a tone, you could spend more time just trying to get an okay tone. And by the time most of us, myself included, were able to get that tone, that inspiration that hit us, you know, which sometimes is very few and far between, now you've lost it. And that creative moment is gone, and you're just like, forget it. With the Helix, this is how it's worked for me, and as you alluded to as well too, when the creativity hits you, the inspiration, you plug in and go, and it's always going to be there. If you want a Fender, you know, one time, you want a Marshall next time, your Soldano next time, or an EVH, you've got it. And more time recording, more time in the zone than miking and running cables. There's no disrespect to engineers. I wish I was an engineer. I never will be, and I don't want to be necessarily. But it's there for us, and I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I had a big house in the countryside and I had a real drum kit, and I had, you know, like all the mics and all the outboard gear, and you know, and the, like you say, the ability to be able to capture those sounds from those amps. Because I know that I could take that. I can, you know, I know I can get a great sound out of that amp. I know I can get a great sound out of both those amps, but to actually then capture it and get it sitting, you know, coming out of these studio monitors, that's a whole different thing, you know. And you know, you spread yourself too thin trying to achieve all those different things. So if something's gonna help you get those sounds quickly and easily, then fantastic.
I was having conversations with some Facebook friends the other day too that are big Helix users, and one of my friends, Brian Cazell, he sent me a real nice patch, which you'd love. I'll send you the patch that he wrote. He goes by Coffee Drinker on the custom tone, and he wrote this one called Van Hagar quite some time back, and he's been evolving it, and that's one of the nice things, you know, like you could write a patch, put it up on custom tone, someone will change it, and then, you know, do some other things to it. It's always like a little starting block, a little kind of a recipe book, and you can go from there. But he was making one. It was really beautiful. It was the wet, dry, wet, kind of like, you know, you're talking Soldano, talking around the Carnal Knowledge era of Van Halen. And when he was really in that, and to balance, especially when he really got into the wet, dry, wet. And one of the patches he wrote was using some detuning, which I do a lot, you know, a few cents down in the left, a few cents positive in the right. And then he was running another signal to an amp down the center. I'm going to take that patch and modify it where it's just going to be a direct out to one of my 5150s, and I'll assign it to a volume block where I can actually bring the expression pedal on and how much real amp do I want, and I'll have Helix left and right, and you totally have the Van Halen patented sound.
Oh, cool.
It's really...
I'll be investigating that. Yeah, send us that.
I will send you that for
patch.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's people creating some great patches out there. I mean, I'm really simple and straightforward with my patches. I tend to recreate the gear that I've got, you know. The only time when I start to get much more creative is because being in the band, and I've always been in a single guitar band, and I do like that sound of one guitar player.
Yeah.
But on recordings, it's quite, and I don't play keyboards at all, so it's actually quite nice to have things like those synth effects in the background and like crazy effects and just add, you know, I actually add to the production, the bigger production sort of sound of things with guitar sounds, and so that tends to be where I go a little bit more extreme with the kind of the effects that I choose, you know. But for the most part, it's those old Marshall type sounds. It's the, you know, I'm a big Mike Landau fan. You know, so things like Octavia and Univibes and all those kind of psychedelic 60s type things, you know, that tends to be where unless I need to pretend that I can gent or do something for a video.
Of course.
I'm usually better off not pretending to do things.
Yeah. I saw some posts on Facebook where you had shared that you're a Michael fan for sure, and he plays pretty good guitar and things like that. That was pretty good. Yeah, that's good. Let's before I go.
Yeah, he's insane. Yeah,
Oh, certainly. Before I jump over to some more questions, let's jump over to the chat because I saw a few that are coming over there that are really good as well too. And I'm not going to go in any particular order. I'm just going to go backwards a little bit. And I do apologize, everyone. As much as on the other show, on the EVH show that I do, I try to get to every single question. We won't be able to do that in a 60-minute environment, but there's some really cool ones here. And I'm going to scroll back because one was asking you particularly about how you create patches, and I had a question about that as well too. So we'll introduce that one. Mark Weinstock, if I have his name pronounced right, says, "I'm a new Helix owner. Own a Helix about a month and seem to be spending more time tweaking and less time playing in the end, and not getting the sound I like. Becoming frustrated already." Now, that was a question I was going to ask you. What would you say to a new Helix user, bringing home the thing from your local music store and opening the box, plugging in? What do you suggest to him or her?
Well, probably what you just, that community that's out there of people sharing patches, that they're well worth investigating. Obviously, all the presets are in there. Even if you can't find one of the presets that are in there, then just look to other people. I mean, I give all my presets away as well. I don't do any charging for any presets. So if anybody wants to message me on my Paul Hindmarsh music page on Facebook, I can just bounce a set list sort of straight back to them of sounds. So yeah, absolutely you can do that. I mean, like I said, I kind of just keep it simple. I tend to, unless I'm after a special effect, I have pretty simple delay tastes. Literally I'll use the simple delay.
Yes.
And I'll take a fairly sort of cleanish, crunchy sort of amp, and I'll just put a bunch of pedals in the front of that. Make sure you listen to it on, making sure you're listening to it properly as well. On nice speakers as well, I would say, or if you're running an amp, make sure you're running it in the right way into an amplifier as well. And I mean, the flexibility of Helix is that you could make it completely wrong as well, because it will let you route effects, whichever, you might decide that you really like a big hall reverb, so I'm going to put that first in the chain. And I've heard I like one of those tube screamers, so I'm going to put that second in the chain. And it will let you make. It will let you make mistakes, but it will also teach you how gear goes to, how signal chain should work and what's going to sound good as well. Rather than buying pedals and taking them back and plugging different things in the wrong order and stuff. You can do it now with a little joystick and move things around. So
that's right. Well, it's like anything, like in the photography world. Now with we don't have most photographers don't use a dark room anymore. Now with digital photographers, we're using like Adobe Lightroom and things like that to post process our photos. And just because there's a million tools at your fingertips and you can do anything you want in this photo, doesn't mean that you should. And I think that applies to the Helix as well too. And I'm very guilty of it. I like to use myself as an example for guilt, so people can learn from my mistakes. Just because you can pitch to the end of time, and just because you can put 17 metal zones, in a row, it doesn't mean that you should, right?
No, definitely not.
And somebody you probably know in the Line 6 community, but I'll mention his name, and his fellow Canadian Jason Sedites. He's very big, as far in my opinion, on the groups there, Dialing In series.
Great videos, great play.
Yeah. I watched his video the other day, and it was a really good one. Not necessarily a recent video, but fairly recent. And he says, you kind of have to have a little bit of, you don't have to be a recording engineer, but have an idea of how microphones work in the real world, how pedals work in the real world, amplifiers work in the real world, and routing a little bit. You don't have to be, Bill Nye the Science Guy, but have an understanding of that when you approach it on the Helix. Now, sure, there's rules that can be broken in the modeling world, but as long as you can take a little bit of that knowledge from the real world, apply it there. Like the perfect example in the intro to this video today, which you didn't see because you can't see it, but is a fast time frame of me creating a patch. Literally, I can go into Helix now, grab a favorite amp, pedals that I like normally right out of the get-go, like a reverb, a tremolo, maybe a kinky boost, things like that, reverb and delay behind the amplifier, and in minutes, 30 seconds, I could actually create a patch that might need some tweaking, but with my eyes closed, it's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what was great with, by having all those touch, the capacitance touch foot switches, yes, and having everything on that joystick. I mean, when I first started with Line 6, I was out demonstrating and doing staff training on things like the Pod X3, the X3 and the HD500. I mean, they were fine for me to use, but I would never have got up in front of a bunch of people without having sort of presets ready. With Helix, I could actually just turn up and just dial some. It's actually part of the fun because I did a lot of staff training. That was one of the main things that I was doing for years for Line 6. So that was one of the fun things, was just actually going, right, there's nothing in this patch, nothing at all. yeah, what kind of amp do you like, you know, like, and then just quickly adding those pedals in. And it's so quick, and it's actually fun to do as well. And
It
things
is.
like that usually aren't fun. Anything that's got menus and, you know, lots of menus and scrolling through pages and holding buttons down for too long and stuff, that gets complicated. I mean, Line 6 just nailed it with the interface, you know,
I think so.
undoubtedly. I don't think there's anybody can disagree with. Nobody can disagree with that. It's awesome.
And I think that's a kudos to Eric Klein. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Eric's the man. Yeah, he's great.
He certainly is. Here's a really good question, and this is, I think, it's a phenomenal question. It's a very simple question, but something I think that is often overlooked. This is from Jim Lund in the chat. He says, any tips for volume leveling your patches? Now, here's the thing. We create our patches, and they sound good here at home, whatever. Now we take them to the band, or sometimes, God forbid, to the stage, and we've got a good patch. We jump, and all of a sudden, boom, and maybe you haven't assigned it to a volume pedal, whatever. So what's your tips on leveling volumes between patches?
I just really set them in band practices. Well, first of all, I should say that being the simple kind of guy that I am, and because I'm not out doing covers. I used to do that for a long, long time, but that was, oh God, that was way back, long before any of this. I tend to sit on one patch, one preset, and I have all the snapshots within that. So when they're all kind of leveled actually within the preset itself. For anything else, doing demos, when I've been using things like HD 500 or Helix and bouncing through a lot of different presets, it was really a case of getting in the rehearsal room and playing at volume and leveling them that way, you know, and leveling them with the sort of the main output there as well at the very, very end of the chain, rather than try to mess on with the actual amp volume, where you're actually changing the sound of you're changing the sound of the amp as well. But yeah, I mean, with the 300-foot Gorilla stuff, it's one preset that I sit on all the time. Yeah. And that does all the different tunings. There's 3 different amps in that preset. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that kind of, yeah, so that works out well for me. It's and obviously, you know, with snapshots, as everybody I'm sure is aware, obviously it means that there's no, all your delay spill over, your reverb spill over, so there's not even the slightest little, you know, like little space in between switching your sounds.
Here's a question I have for you, and this is for my own knowledge, but I know this will benefit others as well too. And then we're having some comments where people are very anxious to hear some tone, so I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let you play. But here's a question that will help others, and it's affected me, and I'm doing something wrong. So let's say in a snapshot situation like you just mentioned, a lot of times on my rhythm snapshot, I'll have like somewhere around a 250 millisecond delay, just a nice little slap back, a little bit longer than a slap back. But then when I go into lead, I want something like around 380 milliseconds. And when I change to that snapshot, you know, you remember it with Van Halen with Eruption, you know, you turn the delay time down to get that simulated effect of a whammy bar dive. Well, you can actually, when I go from snapshot to snapshot, I actually hear the delay time try to race up to catch up to it or race down. And I've got trails turned on. Am I doing something wrong there? Or is that the nature of the beast?
Yeah, I think that's the nature of the beast.
Okay, all right. That's a fair answer.
I may need to investigate that a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe just going back to the community as well. Just moving on from a question I'm not entirely sure about.
It's okay.
What is great, I mean, because like yourself has become so passionate about the way that Helix runs. You know, like we have so many passionate users out there who are so happy to help with all the stuff that they do. You know, obviously, you know, Chad Boston's Facebook group are fantastic, and they're all really positive guys as well. You know, the very fact that Chad's actually got his Friendly Gear Freaks page now as well, and it's quite nice to just get away from some of that negativity that can be on, you know, like online. You know, not about the Helix, just about general negativity about absolutely everything. That's that everybody has an opinion on everything these days. So that, I mean, you know, the idea that I'm the expert on Helix, I mean, I kind of like to think I am, like a little bit, but I think my job really is hopefully to make it sound good and be able to talk about it, and hopefully just inspire people to get in there and use it, you know, and get it themselves, you know. But the resource that you have now of passionate users online who, let's be honest, probably know a hell of a lot more about it than me, because they're getting really inside it, you know, and probably in a way that I haven't. Because one of the things with Line 6 is I'll get a product, I have to focus all my attention and all my time into that product, and then a new product comes out and I'm just completely taken away from it. So there was a period of about 6-7 months there where I just didn't get a chance to plug into Helix at all. Everything everything suddenly became like Spider, and then everything becomes HX Effect, and everything becomes, you know, whatever's about to happen, that becomes my sole focus, you know. So.
Oh, good information. And this is something you and I just learned from this as well too. This is from Audacity Works. It says, hey, okay, Eric, you can set global settings /preferences /tap tempo pitch to transparent, and you're golden. So let's try that after the show and find out. Thank you, Audacity Works.
Thank you, Audacity Works.
That's awesome. So listen, we're going to come back to some more questions in a minute. I'm going to turn it over to the big screen where we can watch you for a little bit. Just take us through some of maybe the patch that you talked about. You have a main patch. Show us a little bit of playing and take your time and embellish as much as you like.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what have I got here? I put a few little different bits of preset and stuff together before. A lot of the time I've been using Helix Rack, and now I've just bundled a few things together. So what have I've got a thing here, a little preset sort of sound sample thing that I did from last year, which is one of the Interstate Z amps, which I really liked. So let's have a little bit of listen to that, and then there's a new effect on there that I'd never really experienced before in a music store or in real life or anything. And I came across it in Helix. But anyway, let's have a quick listen. So this is just the amp with a bit of delay and a bit of reverb. One of the things I love, you know, we talked about it before, is that the way Helix will back off when you turn the guitar down. You know, so you know, I can get really clear. So that kind of dynamics from something is fantastic. But what I was going to say was just because it was really just on this preset there as I came up with it, and that was the bubble vibrato, which I'd never used that before. No. I never would have thought to actually buy a pedal like that, but I really like that sound, and that's just that, being able to get access to new effects and new sounds goes right back to what we talked about right at the very start, with just being able to be creative. You know? Yeah. So so that with the bubble vibrato. I don't know if you can hear that over Skype. I don't know.
Oh, dude, I'm doing everything in my power right now not to fanboy out here. I'm trying to compose myself. You can hear the tubes just on the fringe. You can hear the speakers on the fringe. That is amazing. Now, do you have a hot rail on the back of that? You must have, right? I can't see it that well.
It is a Seymour Duncan little 59.
Okay, there you go.
59. Yeah. Normally I used to have the Jeff Beck Jr. And I ended up putting a little 59 in almost like accidentally, and it's nice. It's been in there for 15 years or so.
Okay.
Or so now. Yeah. So yeah, it's a great pickup. I really like that, and you know, yeah,
it does clean up. And that's the thing. Sometimes with some digital things that are out there, it's 0 or 10. There's no anywhere in between. And as you just showed us and proved to us, that anywhere between in that gamut of the volume really warms up nice, full gain to crystal clean. Yeah, and that's massive for me. I mean, I really like getting tones from different things. from obviously, you know, as I'm sure most people are aware of now, it's how you attack the string. That's where your sound's going to come from, you know. So I will constantly flick between. You know, I find myself on videos before doing this kind of you know, like on store videos,
where I've kind of waved at the end to say goodbye, and it looks like I'm doing some kind of strange like Spock sign. It's
Yeah.
because my plectrums, not me. That's a very Geordie thing to say.
Yeah.
My plectrum goes straight from there, and it goes underneath. It goes underneath here, so that I can play.
Oh yeah.
You know, with the thumb.
Insane.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, absolutely. So
here's.
I'll maybe just quickly go through a bunch of different patches.
Thank you, please, please.
Yeah. I'll just. I mean, talk about influence a little bit. You know, here, like it was always the funk players that really, that I got. Well, funk rock. I'm coming from the bass player perspective, thing, and wanting to play slap bass all the time, and just getting really into that funk thing, and then all of a sudden, and then having Van Halen. So I had Van Halen, and I had this funk, this pop thing, this Duran Duran. I wanted to be John Taylor from Duran Duran. That's really where it all came from back in the day. And then all of a sudden, you had bands like Living Colour and Fishbone and all those guys, and that's like where I kind of really got into where a lot of my influences still are. So things like this auto filter, it reminds us of guys like Stevie Salas and things like that. Yeah,
that's cool.
That's cool. I'm never really gonna go out and buy one of end up buying a filter pedal. So it's great to be able to have it in here. And new things that I'm really into. I really like the new multi-pass delay. Well, that's not the multi-pass delay. Let me have a look and find out where my multi-pass delay is. I think that's just a great effect. So Line 6, as we do a lot of, we model a lot of classic gear and put those kind of tones at people's fingertips. What Line 6 are also able to do, and I think it's going to be interesting to see where that goes in the future with all kinds of digital guys, is they're going to be the guys who actually start, inventing the new things as well. Like there's new effects there that don't really exist yet. And once guys like Eric and really get into just creating brand new sounds that nobody's heard before, and we're already doing that, and it's that'll be fantastic as well. So yeah, so the we got the multi-pass delay, the harmonic, things like harmony delay.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so there's some cool things. I think those are.
That's very nice.
Yeah, I like, and it makes it sound like I can play a hell of a lot faster than I actually really can. And then I love those we talked about the things like the Octavia.
Yes.
I love that kind of that sound, and I love it when it gets really nasty. So that's good.
That has groove for days.
Love that kind of thing.
Hendrix meets Satriani meets I don't know what. That's incredible.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the synth sounds before. Now, that's not the sort of thing that I would ever go out and do a gig with.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may do, but particularly on the first band album. Less on this last one, but we did a lot of sort of thickening up a lot of the tracks with with different effects, and having just something in the background that just adds, even just something like that in one of the speakers, like even it just comes in occasionally, and it makes all the difference and makes it more, hopefully makes it more interesting for a listener as well.
You know what I can say there? I'll give you an example of a guitar player that you're probably familiar with. He's been on the show before on my other show, George Pahone Jr. from Black Eyed Peas and Cairo Knife Fight and things like that. And it just made me think of something very quick when you said just something slight in the background. I don't want to quote him because I never can say it perfectly, but he said the way he builds with his stuff, like they're a 2-man band, and all kinds of loops and all that kind of stuff. And he'll run guitar patches off to an Ampeg 810 and like drop crazy tuning to get the bass sounds. But he says he builds landscapes, and just building landscapes, and that's kind of what that's doing with a synth like that. Just a slight little landscape over here that allows a guitar player now to cut through the middle or a vocal or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's on all, much as we kind of, me personally, I always think that just the sound of guitar, bass, and drums is like the ultimate, that's the sound that I want to hear. I want to hear the guitar and the bass player and the drummer all exposed, I want to hear them all playing off each other. And then you go back to some, mentioning like Van Halen and stuff again, and you think that's their sound. But in the studio, it's not really, there's overdubs and there's a lot of little things going on there just to make it sound a bit more lively, and that's something where those more extreme effects can sound great on something like Helix as well. Yeah, absolutely. And then like things like I'm just running through a bunch of different effects here. The things like the Trinity chorus. You wouldn't be able to find one of those sort of old units now. Yeah.
It's truly beautiful. That sounds amazing. That's the thing. Things that you would never necessarily go to the music store and seek out and purchase, because a lot of times some of these pedals, especially boutique pedals, can be very, very expensive. And you invest $300, $500 in a pedal, and it's like, oh, I don't like it. Sometimes you don't get a refund. You have to try and sell it and take a loss on it. I saw someone on Chad's group, as you were mentioning earlier, on Chad's Facebook group there, someone actually took the liberty to add up all the value of the amplifiers. Even some of them are fictitious in the Helix, and some of the effects, some of them are fictitious that are created by Line 6 directly, but the other ones are modeled after the real thing. And it was like, it's so many hundreds of thousands of dollars of gear. And I said it certainly would save the money on a divorce by buying the Helix as opposed to adding up all that stuff.
Yeah, although it would just be insane.
I know.
You just couldn't do it. And you could go into a store and there's a pretty good chance you wouldn't be able to find one of those pedals in there anyway. So it'd either be insanely expensive, or it could be really unreliable as well. It's that's the other side of that. There's a guy at Yamaha who has the most incredible collection of gear. And every time we do a kind of showcase sort of thing down there, he always brings in. He's got just. I love old analog. I still, we all do. We still love it, And he always brings this stuff in, and we A/B it with the Helix, and then we do that and it's something that always gets people buying the Helix as well. We did a thing with. I'll not mention any names. I'm sure you're familiar with some of them. I think it was like 4 editors of like big guitar magazines. And we did that same thing there, and 3 of them actually use Helix now.
Oh, that's great.
Like they actually got rid of the gear that they're traditional amp and effects type guys. But every time this guy from Yamaha brings in his gear, it sounds fantastic. It sounds amazing. But I always break it. It's like it always starts making funny smells, and it starts to smoke, and and then he always has to take it for repair every time I've been in. It's like. So I don't know. I must just give out the wrong vibes for his old analog stuff. Yeah, but yeah, you couldn't afford to buy it. Like all of that different gear. You wouldn't be able to find it, and you certainly wouldn't want to take it to a gig.
No.
And what I've discovered with using Helix is that I'm heard far better now plugging DI straight into a PA than I ever have been with an amp.
Mm-hmm.
For years I was told, turn the amp down on stage, so I can turn you up to the PA. And you try to do that, and it's like it kills the gig for you. Or, it's not as much fun, and so you inevitably end up turning up. And then, when I actually first turned up with a Helix and plugged into, this great sort of local venue, I plugged in, just ran the Helix straight into the PA. And who would have thought it? It actually turns out if you're quiet on stage, you do get louder through the PA.
I bet.
The guy was serious all those years when he was telling us to turn down. He was like, so I mean, we're not a big band. We don't do a lot of stuff, but people will come to gigs and they'll like with anything, they'll video things on their phone, and those phone videos that I've seen since I started using Helix, I'm far. I mean, previously, those videos would always be lots of, lots of vocals, lots of cymbals, and lots of bass, like lots of kick drum and lots of low rumble and very little clarity. Those videos now are crystal clear guitar, louder than they've ever been. And it was only 2 weeks ago, I was just going through some video files, and we had somebody recorded something. It was on quite a nice camera as well, actually, this video. And I thought it was pre-Helix. I thought it was when I was using the Marshall, and I was actually like, oh man, that sounds so good. Like, yeah, that it's because I love loving that amp, but at the same time, I love the Helix as well, and this is my living now as well. And I watched the video and I was like, oh man, that amp sounds so good. And as I was watching the video, I thought, actually, that's not. I could see a Marshall at the back of the stage, and I was like, actually, that wasn't our gig. That was a strange gig that we turned up to in the middle of the afternoon. So the Marshall that was there actually wasn't mine, because the bass player didn't have his gear, and it's like, actually, that's the Helix. That is actually the Helix coming through the PA, and it was like, great, even the modeling thing for everybody. There's another guy in Newcastle who's out. He has a different modeler at the moment, but I went to see his band play, and he just sounded fantastic through the PA. There was another guy in the band who had a more traditional amp. And this guy actually sounded more like the traditional amp through the PA, and he was louder, and the spread that he had was far better as well, than the actual guy who had the real little combo sort of sitting on the stage. I mean, and I'm sure the people at the front got like a full face full of, this little Fender combo, but at the back of the room, the modeler was doing it. It really was. So yeah,
very enjoyable.
It is and you can walk in with a gig bag and
I can only imagine what that'd be like. You technically, especially if you're walking with a Variax and a Helix. I mean, holy cow, I would feel naked on stage. But here's a question over in the chat. This is a good question too, because a lot of people obviously watching this show are the Van Halen fans. And Jeff Abraham was asking about combining like the Helix products with 5150 amps, and he's also mentioning 4-cable method. Now, I particularly in my case here, because I have a lot of the 5150 amps, I don't use the Helix in a 4-cable method yet, but I use the HX effects in a 4-cable method. And if I can give a testimony on that, what to me sounds absolutely phenomenal and transparent as well too. I'm using the 5150 strictly for the distortion, and then running modulation. Well, I actually run modulation to the front of the amp, reverbs and delays to the back, and even channel switching with it, which is great because it's just a 1/4 inch. So, so Jeff, if I can give you any advice on that, if you're thinking about getting an HX effects or even a Helix, it will play very, very nice with the 5150 or any amplifier for that matter. And I've got a few fans and friends that are diehard anti modeling guys, and two of them, particularly one of them's even on the show here today on the chat, has purchased, gone that route because I'm saying, hey, you have to buy this, but they've kind of watched and like, okay, maybe there's some merit to this, and they're absolutely loving it. But real quick question, and I'll let you play some more, and we're about 10 minutes away from the end of the program, and we're going to talk about a contest that we're giving away some stuff from you. Do you even know that people come to expect you to be like the all-knowing burrito when it comes to Helix, which you pretty much are? But do you still find yourself?
Well, obviously, I wasn't before with that question, was I?
No, but you know what? We learned it's a good segue, because we both learned something today that we didn't know, and that's the whole nucleus of the show. Is for people to learn without having to spend a lot of time. That's why, as much as I'd like to talk for 3 hours, it's 60 minutes. We'll get out of here and some good knowledge, hopefully. Do you still learn other than that little tip that we learned today, do you still find yourself from day to day, maybe once a week, hey, I didn't know that about the Helix?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I learned some stuff today, just getting ready for this.
Nice.
Just getting ready for this, I mean, I do the occasion. Well, I do a few Skype lessons. I used to teach guitar quite a bit, and then obviously the Line 6 sort of full-time roles kind of, I haven't got as much time, but I still do some. But I always just use the mic on the I always use the Mac mic, and and the Mac picks up the speakers and everything as well. But today, Skype was being really awkward with my other sound card. So today I've actually got two. I'm in the luxurious position of having two Helixes here. So the little sort of tie clip mic that I have on here, that's running into a path on Helix with a tiny little bit of reverb just to stop me from freaking, because it's weird if you haven't got a little bit of room sound in your headphones. It's a bit weird. So having this Helix floor in front of me, running this out in stereo, running into the returns, the two return inputs on 3 and 4, and then having that running into Skype, and literally everything that you're hearing is running through a Helix, and it's so just being able to do. And I mean, Line 6 for a long time, it was always a lot of talk was about Line 6 creating solutions and solving problems for people, and that's been a bit of a company philosophy, and it really does, It's so the problem that I was going to have today was actually fixed by Helix as well, in a way that I didn't really understand. And then obviously you've got all the updates coming out as well,
all the time.
So I mean, finding things like that, the vibrato, the vibrato pedal, the bubble vibrato pedal before, just things like that, and then getting the new amp models and everything as well. Although I'm quite out of date with the new amp stuff, because I ended up, like I said, I get sidetracked in the in the HX effects and stuff. So a lot of stuff that I've been doing recently is with the newer kind of effects. But yeah, there's always something new to. There's always something new. And it could be that you just watch a player, or you hear a new song, and it's like, what the hell's that guitar sound? That's really, that's really interesting. And then you can buy Guitar World magazine and see what they're using, and it's a pretty good chance a lot of it's going to be inside. You've probably already got access to those sounds,
That's right. Well, let's spend the last 10 minutes here, and let's talk about two things. Let's talk, number one, you've got a Variax there, right?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so let's we have is it Charles Ireson says, let's hear some Variax with the Helix. Let's give us a couple of riffs on that. Let's come back and talk about 300-foot Gorilla. We're going to mention the contest, and we'll wrap up.
Yeah, cool. I mean, so this is, I mean, I've been using this Variax on a bunch of different videos, sort of recently. It's actually one of the guys at Line 6. It's not one of the custom shop guitars. I was after a gold body, and I was wondering if Line 6 actually had any damaged or returned gold bodies, and they actually very kindly sent me out a brand new guitar. So it's just one of the Korean ones. The pickups are stock as well. I think I get messages saying, what have I changed the pickups to? What have I changed the pickups to? Is it much difference between this one and one of the standard Korean guitars? And it is actually just a normal it's a normal Variax. So yeah, right. So what I was going to say before was, we talked about the preset that I had for using band stuff. Mm-hmm. So using snapshots, I have. So it's a little while since I had a band practice, so let's hope this is actually all going to still be working in the same way. I have a preset here which has I'm using the same. I mean, on this I'm actually using an impulse response. So I have a sort of Marshall head. Snapshot number 2 is a Soldano sound with the same IR. Snapshot number 3 is a matchless, and I'm just running through the same levels of reverb, and it's just the chamber reverb, and it's there. So I've got to match this. But hopefully, when I click on snapshot number 4, I've got the acoustic sound. Snapshot number 5 is the Soldano sound, but this lets me do one of the band songs, because I can be quite lazy, believe it or not, and and I like just taking a Helix and one guitar to a gig.
Sure.
And what happened with the Helix? We actually started some of the demos that I've done over the years. The band kind of gets hold of them, they like the riffs on those, and then we end up building a song around those, or they'll build a song without me kind of realizing the single coming with a part. And one of the songs that he kind of really liked was a one that I did with a Chapman 7-string guitar. And I just didn't really want to take a 7-string guitar to every sort of, every gig and every rehearsal that we're doing. So I thought, well, if I've ended in a situation now where, because we did so much acoustic stuff and so much 7-string stuff across the album, where I can't use my kind of old Fender Strat now. I'm having to use the Variax, but I mean, that's no hardship. But what it means is I can have the E strings down to a low B. But the top 4 strings are normal, so I can play the bottom riff that came from the 7-string, but I can actually do that.
That's excellent.
Yeah. So and then instantly. Feeding the acoustic. And then other songs, awesome. I think the one of the videos that you shared was which is just the lowest string on the guitar tuned down to a C. So in one preset there, I have a Marshall-y kind of clean sort of sound, as clean as I ever need to sort of really get. I've got a full-on Soldano sound. I've got a sort of chimey matchless sound. And then I've got 3 different types of tuning, all with the Soldano. Well, one of them's with the matchless actually, and then I've got the acoustic sounds as well. So that kind of flexibility that a Variax and a Helix give you, So I mean, not only does it give you sounds that you maybe just haven't got the gear to do, but also if you're lazy like me, it's just fantastic that you can just turn it with 2 bits of gear and.
There's no need to impress anymore. You don't have to travel with 14 speakers and 6 guitars and just to make an impression. It's more about simplicity, and you can do it now.
I mean, I think the future will really be the next thing will be people just selling selling inflatable Marshall stacks or something. Something that you use all this stuff all your sounds coming from this, but the back line is like you blow up your 2 412s and your old style tube head on top of it,
just for a security blanket.
Yeah, you just rock out in front of that.
That's hilarious. And I mentioned everyone too as well. We're going to be wrapping up in a moment. This chat is available after the fact now too, thanks to the new features of YouTube. There's some really good comments from people in the chat. They're actually commenting with one another, sharing some tips. Carlo Santin and a whole bunch of other people as well too. So go back and watch this chat after and rewatch the video, because there's some really helpful tips for EQ blocks and things like that as well too. So you talked about your band, 300-foot Gorilla, and there's a whole bunch of links down below as well. So everyone in the description, there's links to every one of Paul's properties, including the band and all of that kind of stuff. And we're going to be giving something away in a second, but kind of give us the videos some of us have seen, but tell us about the band. You've got the new album out, and I'm going to mention a link here in a second where the first 10 people that can jump on this link real fast will get a free copy of the digital download. So tell us about the band.
Yeah, band has been around for a long time. We've been best friends for years. I mean, I think I met the bass player back in 1994. We kind of started, so we're kind of used to playing with it. And it really is just a bit of fun, like nobody wants to be like on the road. Nobody's looking for a record deal. We are just doing it because we just love. We just love being in a room and playing, and, we're lucky enough that when we do gigs, it always goes down well as well, so, and everybody in the band's interested in recording. Everybody in the band's like, is a creative kind of person as well, so that's really what 300-foot Gorilla is. We probably should do more stuff. We get like a lot of requests to do stuff, and we, like just people's schedules kind of stop us from doing that. But yeah, we put some videos together. So I mean, if you check out my YouTube channel, there's videos on there as well. We've got I think there's 2 or 3 sort of band videos on there. So yeah, check those out. I think there's Protection, Still I Bleed, and all these. Like I said earlier, if anybody wants to, I mean, I probably won't get a chance to do it tonight. But if anybody listening or anybody watching this later on wants to like my Facebook Paul Hindmarsh music page and send me a message, I'll certainly send any patches and anything. The 300-foot Gorilla preset is right here with all those different tunings on as well. So
that's nice.
yeah.
Thank you. That's great. I'm going to hit you up on that as well too, because I love what I was hearing.
Yeah.
And I'm still a bit of a novice, even though I've had the unit for several months here. But I will hit you up on that as well too. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do some trivia, but in a 60-minute synopsis here, it's just too hard to answer questions. And I really do apologize. I couldn't answer everyone's questions as it was today. It's a learning curve here. It's a new show. But I'm going to paste a link here in a second. And I have to say that it's only a limit of 10. As soon as the first 10 people get to this link, it's on my website for the other show. That's it. Once the first 10 are there, it's no longer, but it'll all it is your name and email. I'm not adding you to a mailing list. There's nothing like that. It's solely so I can send you the download codes, which Paul will provide to me. So here we go. Get ready over in the chat for a download of the 300-foot Gorilla album. Here it comes.
But remember, you can also buy the album.
Yes, exactly.
It's not just the first 10 who get to hear the album. The first 10 get it for free.
That's right.
After that, you can buy it and you can pay whatever you want for it as well. You go for it.
Yeah. Remember that thing we call currency? We can use some of that and we can spend it. Exactly. Here it comes, folks. I'm going to paste it right now. evhgeardiscussion.com/Hindmarsh. Go there and get it right now. Don't leave YouTube. Just open up in another window. And I want to get you back, Paul. This is great. We are right on the 4:02 mark of the hour. I was really excited about having this, and I honestly launching this show and could not think of a better guest than you to kick it off. I want to have you back for sure, and I'll try to schedule. As you know, now working closely with the team, maybe quarterly, once every few months, anyways. Have you come back on and talk about what's new and show us some tips to give us updates on the band and all kinds of things. So I'm just very honored to have you.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Thanks for having me. It's been great. I mean, I've been watching a bunch of your shows today, and you've had some great players on there. Jason Becker, man. I just saw that today. Wow. But anyway, I need to shut up and let people go.
No, he's inspiring for sure. I mean, just
fantastic,
very inspiring.
Absolutely.
I think we broke the internet. So let me know if anyone has any problems with the link. I don't think you will, and it will expire after 10. But like I said, there's all the links down below to Paul's Bandcamp and everything, so you can purchase the album. And your YouTube link, I added it and I stuck it up there as well too. It's the first link. So please go subscribe to Paul. And if you're new here to the show today, I would love it if you subscribe. And a motto I always try to convey here is I like to try to work as hard for you to keep your subscriptions as I did to get them. So thank you so very much. And I do have to say thank you to your colleagues as well too. Frank, Matt, Nick, Eric Klein, everyone at Line 6. I've never worked with a company, and I'm only working with a small ground level thing here. They've just been so kind to me, and I'm very, very thankful. So you're in good company there for sure, and they're blessed to have you too.
Absolutely, they're a great company, absolutely fantastic.
Frank is in the air right now. He actually commented, you probably saw, he was actually flying, so he was in the air at the time. So awesome, everyone. Thank you so very, very much. We'll be back again, too. This is going to be a regular segment, and looking forward to more. So I'm going to say goodbye to you off the air. Everyone, thank you. So, the link didn't work. Okay, hang on a second. Let's have a quick look at this. I'll find it out, okay? Give me 1 second, folks, okay? I'm not going to say goodbye without that. We'll fix that right now. Bear with me, everyone. We're going to fix that. And I got a text message from the better half here. 1 second. We're going to fix this. We don't want to go anywhere.
So I knew I was right doing this. I thought, you could put it into me and I would be responsible for this, but I completely put everything in your code for this.
I know.
No. Yeah, no. I'll just give you the codes. You just deal with all of.
That's right.
Deal with all of this. Yeah.
No, I did. I'm pretty sure I published a post. Let's try this one more time, okay? Bear with me, everybody. We'll fix this. Tell you what. Why don't you do some playing for me while I fix this?
Okie dokie.
Right.
Yeah, right. So let me.
think I've got it. Let's try it again. I really hope this works. If not, we'll make this up to you. Try again, everyone. Let's try that. I'm going to try clicking it, see if it actually opens up in a new window. Oh, no. It's not working. It's not working. Oh, no. Tell you what, we're going to make this right. Here's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to go to Facebook, facebook.com/EVH Gear TV. And there's a problem on the website at the moment. I really apologize. So watch Facebook tonight. As soon as the show's done in the next couple minutes, facebook.com/EVH Gear TV. I will rectify the link and we'll have 10 available. And then after that, you can contact through Bandcamp and purchase. It's just a technical issue on the website. So we'll fix it.
Yeah, and it's not expensive. It's not an expensive
That's
purchase.
Right. I don't know what's going wrong with that permalink, but we'll fix it. So everyone, Paul, thank you so very, very much. Everyone, thank you for joining in the chat.
Thank you.
I'll say goodbye to you off the air, and we will see you all very, very soon. Thanks for watching the premiere issue episode of the Helix Hour. See you real soon. Thank you for watching the Helix Hour. We hope you enjoyed today's presentation. An extra special thank you to the staff at Line 6 for their continued support. If you've not yet subscribed, please do so right now and feel free to share our content with your friends. See you next time on the Helix Hour.